WTC Final.
Yes,
It's in
sir.
Lords. Going to
Yes,
be
sir.
swinging. It's going to
Yes,
be
sir.
South Africa, Australia,
Yes,
and
sir.
and red ball cricket is finally
Finally.
back. We've had our dose of T20 cricket. Happy with it was good, but now we got to get back to red ball cricket. I feel like so. Man, take us to this finale. What's what how do we get here? How do we get here to both South Africa and Australia? Yeah.
This is a David versus Goliath story if there ever
Oh,
was one.
that
South
good.
Africa are kind of underdogs here. They visited Australia on a test match tour with a slightly different team, and they got blown away. No one
Yeah.
really cared about their chances. They had, a whole controversy with what's going on with the cricketing board, who's going to be the captain. Elgar retires, bavuma is in and out, then he gets made captain. And they've got new players in. They've got Stubbs in from IPL to play in test matches. Rickleton comes in out of SA20, and everyone's like, what is this team going to do? You have players like Desorsi, Bedingham, who people have never heard of. I hadn't heard of them until maybe last year or early this year. And they go to Bangladesh, and on wickets like that, they just smash them.
Yeah.
They end up being the table toppers in the WTC final, effectively knocking out India. Because if it wasn't for South Africa, even with the BGT horrors, India would have been playing Australia and it would have been a typical big story final. And here's this team with players you don't know, and they're going to be in Lords versus Australia.
Yeah,
This is big.
I think it's really important one for South Africa cricket because you have um probably like a tale of two different captains. You have Pat Cummins, probably the greatest captain of this decade, and someone like Temba Bavuma, who we don't speak enough about. But Temba
True.
Bavuma has done so much and has been playing for South Africa, especially in red ball for quite some time now, and has been actually a fantastic leader when you think about it. They've been really able to take a team of uh, people that maybe you've not heard or not maybe the household names, and they've been able to
Correct.
just kind of bring them up and focus a lot of efforts on red ball cricket. Because they've been able to identify who are our red ball players, who are our white ball players, and find people who can kind of mix and match with both. But I'm excited for this one because I think that we talk a lot about this about Lords and what's kind of the conditions and everything that's going to be there, and I think that you have people like Rabada and Jansen who, in my opinion, are going to be probably have to be the strike bowlers in this lineup, and hopefully some maybe you can get something from a Mulder and a Geedy and Keshav Maharaj to kind of contribute. But I think it's a very sort out bowling lineup in my opinion that can I don't think it's at the levels of an Australia, but still can compete in that kind of conditions. I would say.
Agreed. And I think this is where the pitch comes into play since we are talking about now the main points for this final. They're
Mhm.
going to be playing at Lords. In terms of the pitch, we know this is somewhere there's a slope, as people might know. Or if you don't know, if you're watching a WTC final for the first time, Lords has a slope, the way it's structured from like one end of the ground to the other. So the ball naturally kind of tails in or goes away depending on what side you're bowling from.
Yeah,
And quite a few batsmen actually struggle with this. It doesn't seem as clear on TV, but there's a natural swing that comes in and just some shape. So it's going to
yeah.
be interesting. And I think that brings me to the point of Australia. How many fast bowlers do you think they'll need? Do you need a Scott Boland because you have Hazelwood, Stark, and Cummins are fit? But will you play a Scotty Boland or will you play a Webster? Who's better for that kind of scenario? And how does Cameron Green come into this?
Look, okay. We'll talk about Cameron Green, but a little bit later. But let's focus on Scott Bowen first because I think if you really want to play the best potential bowler for maybe those conditions, I think Scott Bowen is actually a very fair shout. The only problem is to get ahead of Stark, Hazelwood, and Cummins is almost impossible. They're not gonna. They're not. They're that. Those are the three that they're gonna play. And immediately, if you because Mitchell Marsh, which I don't think we both are thinking that he will probably play, just because he's not
True.
going to give it a lot with this, because he's not able to bowl with injuries and everything like that. He's only going to be there as a batsman. But if you play a Webster, I think it's a little bit more of a balanced team, and you're not introducing someone like Carey or Inglis up at six. And I feel like it's going to be a little bit more balanced if you have Webster playing at six, and because there's just no spot for Scott Boland on this lineup. Honestly, right now, I just don't think that you need you need that bowler in this situation, but. I I think it's a missed opportunity, but I just think it's an impossible situation. If they figure out a way, I think that they're somehow they're going to be sacrificing batsmen. That's the problem.
That's true. And I think the reason we bring that up is because Nathan Lyon is back in the squad.
Hmm.
Obviously, I'm referring to last Ashes. He's been in the squad for a while, but that's when he last got injured in the Lord's Test. And, speaking of that, this is Australia's first game at Lord's since the Johnny Bairstow walk-off dismissal, so to
Yeah.
say. And it's going to be interesting. There's no England playing, but who will the MCC members side with? And are they going to
Oh
be
yeah.
all in decorum?
Oh, I mean, I think they kind of have to be now, I guess, with everything that's been going on, because I think the people that were doing made some comments before, they all got thrown out. So, or they got some kind of ban or whatever. So I don't think they want to risk anything like that. But the good thing is that they're not playing England, so that's why it'll be less of a kind of like a battle for so as to say. But I am still expecting a little bit of back and forth. I'm just not sure potentially who from South Africa is going to be giving it. If it's someone like Rabada potentially who's going to be very aggressive to them, or Marco Jansen. We know all the stories and stuff like that when Sandpaper Gate and everything, like even to lead up to that, of exactly what was going on between Rabada and all the Australian players. So
Will
but
England supporters get some snow for Abada?
it's the nose. Well, yeah, they're gonna be doing lines at the corner. That's why. Oh, poor guy, man. Oh, but regardless, I think that there's definitely gonna be an interesting dynamic to see what South Africa's bowlers are able to kind of really respond, because this is where now we talked about Cameron Green. Um, this lineup, or at least this top order for Australia, looks incredibly confused and
Hmm.
doesn't know exactly what way they're going. So this is what's essentially setting the scene right now, is that we Usman Khawaja is going to be 100% opening the batting. Cricket Australia have announced that they want Cameron Green to be at three.
Yes.
So this has been Marnus Labuschagne's spot for quite some time now.
Donkey's ears.
Exactly. And we thought this was going to be a lock, but now we're looking at uh, Marnus to open, Sam Consis to open. I don't know. How are we feeling about this top order, man?
If it was me, I would go with Conscious. Just because, and I think Aaron Finch mentioned this. He said the reason Labuschagne has lost his three is because he's just not putting any pressure on the bowlers. He goes there, he goes into a shell, and if they give you enough chances, he might take one of them and just
Yeah.
ride his luck a bit. And we
Yeah.
know he's been a lucky player. We've always heard this. We've seen it in the test series. Um, but the point right now is it's a world final. And are you looking at someone who has the experience? Yes, Marnus does over Sam, but do you want youth? Because Sam made his
Mm.
debut. We were in the crowd at MCG Boxing Day. He makes
Yeah.
his debut and he takes on Bumrah in the
Screw,
first spell
screw,
of a
screw
Boxing
that
Day
guy, bro.
test.
Screw that guy, though. But
But that's the point, right?
yeah,
He has the balls
actually,
to take it on. So why not give it to him? Because Steve Smith, as an opener, that experiment has clearly failed. He's back to four.
yeah.
Travis Head is five. And then you're looking at Carey and Webster. We've already gone through that. So you need someone at the top. If Usman is going to play the long game, Labuschagne might just pressure him into going for shots he doesn't need to.
Hmm.
And Usman had a very good tour of England last time around,
Yeah,
but it's still not his best place, especially because his recent form is not that great either. He failed terribly in BGT.
yeah.
So, what do you expect of him? And can Sam be that X factor? Because my thing is, even Cameron Green is going to be aggressive. He's not a
Mhm.
very sit and watch kind of player.
Exactly.
And he's kind of like a like for like replacement for Marsh, but up the order. So, what are they
Yeah.
hoping for? And do you think this is because we are expecting rain on the first 2 days and they know it's going to be a shorter match?
Yeah, look, I'll be honest. The only thing with Sam is that if you want to play him, and all of his performances in the past when he's played have been on pitches where he's maybe played before on their home conditions, and also that I don't think they were incredibly tough tough batting conditions. I won't say that
True.
it wasn't the worst batting conditions in the world, especially day one or for example in for MCG. This is Lawrence. This is going to be probably the toughest conditions he's probably ever had to face. And I think that it's a little bit too much of a risk. I feel like I like Sam Constance just for the X factor, but in case if let's say if you're Kawaja, not really kind of out of form right now. We'll see whether he can do something, maybe spark some stuff his from what he did in the previous Ashes tour. You've got Cameron Green he's playing a game after a serious injury. Um
Big time.
and that entire that it's a top order that's super shaky, so maybe having someone like a Labuschagne who's just played in England, has had success in England, has done some good things. He can, if there because there are periods where he's gonna need they're gonna need to just kind of be very very conservative. They're gonna have to just play some time. um then you would kind of maybe I would potentially think someone like a Labuschagne just to eat up some balls. But but I'm
Hmm,
only going on
interesting.
that because I'm only saying you play Labuschagne because you don't know exactly what you're gonna get out of Kawaja and Green. That's the thing.
Okay.
And it's a defensive kind of style, which is kind of untraditional for Australia. But I think they kind
True.
of need it because this is such an experimental top order. That's the problem. Oh,
Interesting. I I feel that you should take the risk. It's a final. Are you playing
yeah,
to win or are you playing for a draw?
yeah,
You know,
mhm,
the first day forecast is for heavy rain
yeah,
after 10 a.m. It might not come. I'm just
mhm,
saying, but it's a possibility that day one gets rained out, day two has rain interruptions in the second half. So you have a shortened game. And
yeah,
if you want to win, you need something which gives you that X factor at the top. Because if you're going to play Webster as well, I think you have more than enough bowlers. And the fact is, this pitch will always favor a good bowling lineup.
exactly.
The reason I
Yeah,
also say that is the South Africa squad, while they've done really well in some conditions away, one thing I've seen is a lot of these players are hand-eye coordination players. They don't have a lot of foot movement. There's a reason Tony
yeah,
DeZorcy, even though he's got hundreds opening, he's being asked right now to kind of move to three because they want to open with Markram. They want to go Ryan Rickleton and Markram, really
mhm,
go heavy at the top, which tells me that even they're ready to battle fire with fire. That's what they're expecting.
yep,
And the fact is, this is going to be a final where the bowling lineup are pretty much settled. It's going to be world-class bowling. It's really which batsman has the balls to take it on and
yeah,
get that 70, 80, or a big 100 to
yeah.
really set it apart because I don't think this will be a 600 first inning score kind of wicket.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talked about Australia and their top order, just not knowing exactly what path that they're going to go with. Same issue is happening with South Africa, but now this is their middle order. Three, four, and
True.
five is all over the place. We're hearing
It's a
Tony
flux.
Dorsey might want to play at three. They potentially might want to move him down the order. Do you move Bavuma down to five? Maybe promote up Stubbs up to three. It's a lot of it's too many moving parts right now in the middle order. And I think that this is where whoever gets it even just half right because it's only one game, is in my opinion is gonna take the final and gonna take the mace, assuming all conditions and everything like that. So whoever can find a little bit of just something, because I don't think that these are the positions maybe for the future. I think these are just
True.
positions for the game, because there are some form issues, injury issues, this like that. There's just a lot of little things, and the condition, and you have to try to play to the conditions also. So I think that's why that whoever can like maybe get something out of an unexpected, maybe a Disorcy gets a 50 or something like that, or
Or
maybe
Webster gets 3 wickets in a spell.
exactly Webster picks up something. Maybe you play Sam Constas and he hits a quick fire 30 or 40. You're setting yourself up for some more success because everyone else should be having some solid performances.
True.
And I think that's where I feel like whoever can get a little bit more out of those unexpected players, I think is going to really be winning
For
this game.
me, who's going to be
Yeah.
an X factor player for this game's entire outcome?
Mhm.
It's actually Nathan Lyon.
Nathan Lyon. I was thinking the same exact person. Yeah. Yeah.
He is the guy who's going to create some control in the middle overs because the ball will swing. There's no doubt. Ball is going to swing in lots. The conditions, the way they are for this week, overcast, typical English summer, it's going to
Yeah.
be challenging, which means either the batsman will want to take on Nathan Lyon to get some runs on the board, or if it kind of levels out and it's kind of a flat deck because it's rained and stuff, he's going to be the one who kind of creates that control. So a
Okay.
lot of it drives on him. And similarly on Keshav Maharaj. Can
Moran.
Keshav Maharaj keep us Steve Smith, who's a much better player of spin than, no offense, most of the South African batsmen are against
Except
Lyon?
I would say the only person who I think expects some good things out of is probably Tristan Stubbs, and maybe Markram
Interesting.
because they've been
Markram.
playing some.
Markram definitely.
Yeah, Markram. I think Stubbs and Markram I would look out for playing against some spin and being pretty aggressive, especially someone like Stubbs. But you're completely right. Continue. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think spin, which is the one thing you don't expect, might be a big aspect of this because I've been looking up highlights of these players, especially the South African team, because like I said, most of us don't know them. We haven't seen them
Hmm.
much. They don't really move their feet. And when you're
Yeah.
playing on a third or fourth day Lord's wicket, which gets a bit sticky because of rain, and there's foot marks created because there's a lot of fast bowlers, so you will get foot marks.
Yeah.
And if you have a rough, who's going to exploit it? Yes, Lion will always get something out of it, even if there's
Hmm.
nothing. He has a set plan. Keshav Maharaj is an overachiever as well because people don't expect him to be as good as he is, and he's outfoxed a lot of greats, whether it's a Virat Kohli or a Joe Root. He can do
Yeah.
it to anyone.
Yeah. Exactly. And also, I think that when you're looking at a second innings, everything from more of an Australia perspective, they're gonna look a lot to Nathan Lyon to do something and try to really win them in the game. He's done this before in England where he just knows that he's got to have a killer day. He just has to have a killer day and pick up, a fifer really to win them the game. Seriously.
Indeed.
And I think Keshav Maharaj is probably going to have the same, almost very similar expectation in the end. So I think it really comes down to who can come a little bit more from like the underrated players who can maybe overachieve a little bit and our two spinners. Don't think about we don't think usually spinners within a large track, but those are the spinners that are going to be winning. I think a spinner has to like really perform well to win them the game. Yeah,
Definitely. This
yeah,
is going to be a fiery contest. So we look forward to it,
yeah,
and we'll be back with some updates after this as well and look at the season ahead.
absolutely. All right, catch you in the next one, guys.